Coming up on Fresh Outlook today, more troubling revelations about the NSA spying program, both in the U.S. and abroad. Then the use of drones. Where are they being used now and how will they be utilized in the future? Also, it's happened again, more school shootings, the politics of gun control, and what we must do as a country to protect our teachers and children. And finally, our lightning round of questions for all our distinguished panelists on this week's top news stories. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Fresh Outlook. I'm Frank Cipolla. We start with spying in the U.S. and elsewhere, the scope of which seems to be more widespread than we ever imagined. Take a look.
The U.S. intelligence chief has denied reports that U.S. spies recorded data from 70 million phone calls in France in a single 30-day period. James Clapper said the report in the French daily Le Monde contained misleading information about America's foreign intelligence activities. Since the report came out, the Obama administration has said the intelligence acquired from phone monitoring can help in the fight against terrorism. But French officials aren't satisfied with that answer.
Even in the name of fighting terrorism and security, a war that we wage together, there's no justification for certain practices. In any case, we are asking, and President Hollanday has asked President Obama for transparency over exactly what happened.
The latest revelations to emerge from leaks by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden have also strained U.S. relations with its neighbor Mexico. Mexican officials say they will investigate allegations that U.S. intelligence hacked into the emails of President Enrique Peña Nieto and his predecessor Felipe Calderon.
El presidente de la República ha ordenado realizar
The President of the Republic has ordered an investigation that will conclude whether evidence exists or not over the version of the events. Also, the probability of participation of citizens and public officials.
Officials were reacting to a report in a German magazine that said the NSA hacked into a Mexican government server.
Joining us in this segment to discuss the increased and evolving spy network here and abroad are former aide to President George W. Bush, Didi Banky, Jose Lopez, who is the professor of physics at Seton Hall University. He's been on Ebru many times, who will speak to the incredible technology, and also communications professor and political pundit Jackie Gusta is here. Jackie, welcome. Let's talk about this. It seems to me that this has evolved to the point where none of us really can do anything without at least the understanding that we might be spied on. Is this where we're going? Didi, let's start with you.
I think it's disturbing that we don't have our privacy anymore. And then we're talking before the second about how do you even have the privacy? How do you go off the grid? It really is almost impossible now. But I think we have to be careful about when the government is so involved, especially with our friends. You know, we shouldn't be spying on our friends. Now, there's no problem whenever we're spying on the enemy or people that there's chatter and difficulty and terrorism. But when it's our friends, you know, that's not good for us. So I think that needs to change.
Now, it's interesting because there are two issues here. There's domestic spying and international spying, but just on the domestic vein at least, we have the right to privacy. The Fourth Amendment says that every American has the right to privacy. And it's not the 14th Amendment or the 24th, it's number 4, which is really near the top. And Jackie Gusta, in your discussions with people, especially some of your students who are younger, are they comfortable with that? Do they even know there's a protection of privacy?
Well, sure they do. And they are uncomfortable with this. And we make jokes about it. We say whatever you put on Facebook is public, you know, and whatever you text, be careful, the NSA is going to pick it up. So sure, young people are aware of this now.
But why do we accept it so readily?
I think because they just do, because they're in a communication society. Everybody's hooked up, everybody's wired up. You've got teenage kids. Mm-hmm. You know that when you sit down for dinner, they're all texting, they're communicating, etc. That is the environment that they live in now.
And they're comfortable with that. And Jose Lopez, professor at Seton Hall University, let's talk about the technology behind this. It really is complex, is it, or isn't it?
It is and it isn't. A lot of it is spyware. So a lot of the phones, especially cell phones, no one's exactly sure what was being spied on for the Chancellor of Germany. But there definitely had some spyware there on her phone where they could track where she was moving. And I think that's really more what it was than listening to her conversations. I mean, there's so many ways you can do that. You can take the SIM card inside the phone, you can clone that and have basically a two-way communication where there's a third phone that's listening in on two calls. On one call, so there's many ways that it could have been done.
But wouldn't you have to have her physical phone at some point to do that?
You could just it's a radio wave that's being transmitted from a cell phone, so that could be caught. Maybe somebody was trailing her. I doubt that's what it was. I think she probably had some sort of spyware on her phone, and they were tracking her movement, where she was, that kind of stuff.
But that's bad. We shouldn't be tracking Angela Merkel. You know, that's just, you know, we shouldn't be going there. I mean, with our friends. I mean, you know, she's from Germany. The Germans are our friends. You know, leave her alone.
Why wouldn't you just pick up the phone as the president and say, where are you?
Exactly.
That's a good question.
It's a little friendlier, isn't it?
Where are you? Just out of curiosity, we want to know where you were. Let's talk about this international spying, which is, as you mentioned, in your opinion, very disturbing. Why is it that we do need, as a country, to spy on where the Prime Minister of France is, the Chancellor of Germany, also hacking into a Mexican apparatus? Why do we need to do that? Don't we trust our friends, quote unquote?
Well, I think we should, because now there's bad will. I mean, Angela Merkel, she's not happy about it. I don't blame her. So we do need to change that. We need to be friendly to our friends, and those who aren't, well, let's double down with them. Let's make sure, you know, and if we don't know, and if it's gray area, okay, understandable. You know, because we want to be safe, we want to know what's going on. But not with Germany, and not with France, and not with Mexico. We're okay with these folks, but you know, I think that's wrong.
Well, you know, I agree with you 100%. However, aren't they, you know, wondering if there's something going on in the country that we are just not being made aware of? We get the happy face. These are our
like
friends.
What, Oktoberfest? I mean, I just don't see her as a problem with her friends.
But haven't you ever had a bad boyfriend? He's all happy on the surface, and God knows what's going on, you know, when you're not there.
So you're saying Angela might be a bad
She might be cheating on us. She might be cheating on us.
You never know.
Well, my question is, doesn't that say to the person whose phone is being hacked, for lack of a better description, that you have an issue with her, in Angela Merkel's case, or you might think she's doing something?
Right.
Doesn't that cast aspersions upon the person whom you're hacking? And how would you feel if you were the Chancellor of Germany saying, why are they listening to me? Do they not trust me?
Of course. You know, we didn't like it when Rupert Murdoch was hacking the phones in England. Everybody got upset. You know, celebrities got on air and said, oh, this is an atrocity. This has got to stop. Well, we're doing the same thing now. I guess it's all going to come out in the wash if we find out that, God forbid, there's some kind of terrorist connection or something was done that we needed that information, it was important to our security. That's the only reason I can think of now, you know, that would say that it's okay to do this kind of thing.
We are in a dangerous world in which we need our allies to be with us for any number of reasons. Doesn't this turn them off?
Yeah, I think it's dangerous. I don't think it's good at all. Why don't we spend more time on catching the Edward Snowdens of the world? Which
We're going to talk about him in just a moment.
By the way.
We're going to talk about him in just a moment. I'd like to talk with Jose for a moment here. How complex can this get? You mentioned that we're able now to listen to the telephone of a leader on the other side of the world, and everybody knows technology leaps and bounds every 6 months or so. Where do we go? Where do you see this in 10 years? Will we be able to track the person via satellite, exactly know where they are?
Well, we can now. I mean, that the technology is all there. If we're looking for someone, I think a lot of this is also the interests, national interests. I mean, Germany, let's be honest, has taken over the European Union. I mean, they are the most powerful nation in that part of the world right now.
And an ally.
And an ally, yes. I'm not disagreeing with that. But they're not telling us everything. They're not our best friend where they're telling us, you know, all the secrets they have and different things. So I think what the United States is doing is gathering information, trying to understand what's going on, who they're talking to, what they're talking to. They're doing the same thing to us, to the United States of America.
I was going to ask that. Are they not doing that to us and other countries?
Absolutely. Every country, Mexico, you name it, from Israel to Mexico, all the way around the world to China, have their own versions of NSA.
Well, Didi's saying no through all of this.
You don't know. I mean, I don't think Angela Merkel is tracking down Obama. I think she's got her own thing going on. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I think you are being too harsh on our friend in Germany. And we do, you know, and you make a good point, Frank. We really do need them as friends.
Yes.
We need to take care of our allies and treat them as such. Now, if they give us any indication otherwise, fine. But right now, I think we're okay.
Well, I think that Didi's right, that it is causing ill will.
Yes.
And it did. She was not happy.
You know, that's true. However, I think we've got to look at the other side, like Jose said. Is there something going on that we have to find out about? Because they're not telling us everything. Why should they?
Okay, when it comes to Edward Snowden, and you mentioned a moment ago, this is the gentleman that released all these spying records and are now still being released. It comes down to two camps as far as my friends are concerned. He's a hero or he's a villain. Okay, we know where Dee Dee stands, so let's start with you, Jackie, and we'll work backwards. Hero or villain?
I can't even commit to that. I mean, he's a villain because he put out state secrets. That's a villain. But he's a hero because he caused things to be transparent that we needed to know and we weren't made privy to.
Started the conversation that we needed to have.
That's right. We talked about that word, conversation. We, the public, finally knew. That's important. So I don't think we should put him in a box and call him a hero or a villain.
Well, I do that because a lot of my colleagues, one way or another, you're one of the rare ones who says he's right in the middle somewhere. He's both.
Total agreement. I think he found that he could not reveal it to the American public in America, in the United States of America, because he would have been in jail somewhere underground, 200-300 feet underground in seconds. He felt he had to go,
or
Gitmo, or somewhere else. He had to.
You took my line.
He basically had to leave the country and reveal it to the world. So I think really kind of studying this case a little bit, I think a lot of it was personal glory for himself. He thought he wanted to be adored as a hero, and I think there's a huge segment of the world population and some people nationally that do think he's a hero. But in a sense, what he did was it right? No, not really. But he aired out dirty laundry. But so he's somewhere in between.
As a society, as a free society, the United States of America, shouldn't we know that, Dee Dee?
No, this guy is an evil villain, the devil. It gets as
Did you
bad
say
as
devil?
it gets.
I'm sorry. Did you
Yes,
say
he's the devil. No, because I mean, you know, he gives up. He's a traitor. I mean, he gives up our country's secrets. You know, this is information that weakens us. I don't understand why anyone could think this guy is a hero.
Don't you think the general public needs to know how its government is conducting
I'm sorry.
business?
No, this is not for him to do. You know, this was someone
no
who
one
was
else
with
is gonna
the
do it.
government.
No one else is going to do it.
No. And he should be a Gitmo. He should be. I actually think we should use that technology to find him.
We know
bring
where
him
he
back.
is.
We know. Yeah, and then use either a drone or something or whatever to go and get him and take him to Gitmo. And I mean, he should be made an example of what not to do.
But wait,
I mean, this weakens our country.
But wait, you take the case of Daniel Ellsberg with the Pentagon Papers.
Yes.
He did the same thing, more or less, that Edward Snowden did. Now, because he leaked that information about what was happening, the Vietnam War was shortened. He practically saved lives. So perhaps Snowden has some good things.
That's a matter of
going
opinion.
for it. No. He did shorten.
It's even close to
no, when we
the
look back
same
at
type of
history,
thing.
you can see that it did save lives by shortening that war. We're not that past far, the Snowden affair, that we can look at it with historical eyes and see if there was something good that came out of it.
There is nothing good about being disloyal to your country, and this was somebody, you know.
That's how this country got started.
Exactly.
No. This is not right.
You make a point that I want to get back to for a moment. If Edward Snowden doesn't step forward, I can't see President George W. Bush or President Clinton or President Obama, when this technology was around, stepping forward and saying, by the way, I just want you to know we're doing this. They would never do that. It had to take a private citizen to do that.
I do think George Bush would have gone in and found Snowden and brought him back and put him away. Now that I think the President Bush would have done.
Back to Gitmo, huh?
Back to Gitmo.
Hey, quickly, Jose, how does this technology work that they're able to do something like this? They're releasing this information. It's on the internet, obviously. It's all over the place. Was there any way they could have blocked that from happening?
Well, what he did is he just basically did something very simple that anyone can do. With basic computer knowledge, he was a contractor working not directly for the United States of America, but he was working for NSA on a contracted job. He just basically downloaded files and he leaked them out there. I mean, there's been a bunch of cases on this. I mean, WikiLeaks made a
movie about it.
a movie about it out there. So
I want to thank you all, and we're going to take a break now. Coming up next on Fresh Outlook, we go from spying to the use of drones in the U.S. and overseas, the political and legal ramifications of drone attacks. We'll be right back.